Hey there, friends. Before we start today's episode, I have a really exciting opportunity to share with you. I'm in the process of creating a transformative digital course for pharmacy students, trainee pharmacists, and pharmacists who are struggling with balancing their professional life, academia, and personal life. As of today, I have 10 spots open for early enrollment of this course at a whopping 50% discount. And that's the lowest price I'm ever going to offer at £199. In exchange for this discounted price, I'm asking for 5 minutes of your time across 5 weeks to help me shape the course and build it specific to the needs that you are looking for. I really want 10 people to come and join me on this transformative journey and learn more about what you need and help to shape what I have to offer. The course is set to go live on March 25th. Once it's live, you'll get full access to the course and all the bonuses included within it. And I'll be sending you a special gift to your home address just to get you started on this journey. Remember that there are only 10 spots available, so snag it quick. And if you're interested in the opportunity, you can click on the link in the show notes below or the link in bio in Instagram, or send me an email at info@pharmacistdiaries.com and I'll shoot you the link myself. And here's the cherry on top. You will have lifetime access to this course and all of the updates that come along with it every year. It's a transformative journey that is going to last you a lifetime. I'm so excited about this new project, and I'm really looking forward to having some of you on board this journey with me. Don't forget to grab one of those 10 spots by clicking the link below or shooting me that email. Let's hope for a transformative year of 2024 in both your personal and professional journey. Now let's get back to the episode. Hello and welcome back to Pharmacist Diaries. First of all, I wanted to wish everybody a very happy new year, and I am so excited that this is the first official series of 2024. Today, I have Gina on the episode for an amazing 3-part series on the pharmaceutical industry, a topic that everyone has been asking me for, and here it is. I can't wait to get into it. We have 3 episodes prepared for you. The first is all about Gina's story and the reason why she started PharmAfinity. The second episode is around the top 3 skills that you need to get into the pharmaceutical industry, as well as the skills that you need when you're there. And the third episode, one of our favourite topics, is covering motherhood and juggling a career. So let's get into it. Gina, we're here and ready to go for our episode. I'm so, excited and happy that you've joined me. Really excited to hear about your journey into pharmacy and everything about PharmAfinity as well. So let's start the episode talking about why you became a pharmacist and the kind of early days of your career.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, Anisha, for inviting me along to this to the Pharmacist Diaries podcast. My early career. I graduated from Aston University, and I was a bright-eyed, ambitious young pharmacist. I undertook my training year with the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, which is a big teaching hospital, and allowed me to really get that exposure across different specialties. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great. And I guess there was part of me, even from my pre-reg, I was thinking, is hospital right for me? I knew whilst I was doing my degree that I didn't want to do community. And when you're at university, really, community and hospital are the only 2 options that are kind of put out there to you, that are displayed to you, that are explained to you. No one really talks about industry or anything else you can do with a pharmacy degree. So that's why I decided to do my pre-reg in hospital. And then I continued my career within hospital, moving to a district general, which was really good because I got to see how pharmacy departments operate in different types of hospitals. I got to see how management structures, priorities, those types of things, which was really useful. But again, I still didn't feel like hospital was where I could see my career developing. I kind of wanted a little bit more. I think when you're in hospital, your career path is very much laid out in front of you. You go in as a pre-reg, you do your band 6, band 7, you do your postgraduate diploma, you progress up the bands, and you become a chief pharmacist. But what happens after that? What else is there to do once you become a chief pharmacist? And I just felt that that career path was so rigid, so in stone. I couldn't really change it. And it wasn't where I wanted to end up. Being a chief pharmacist wasn't where I wanted my career to end. So I guess I started looking at all the different options available to me. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I could do. And so I started looking at things that were not even pharmacy related. I started looking at roles that were in banking, so postgraduate banking roles. I started looking at relocating to Australia. I considered joining the army. I considered becoming an army pharmacist. So there was just so many other things that I was looking at because I just didn't feel like I wanted to end up as a chief pharmacist. I didn't want to continue down the normal hospital path. So after a while of applying for lots and lots of roles in various different sectors and industries, I stumbled across industry. And the more I started looking at industry, the more I started to understand, because with industry, as a pharmacist in hospital, there are really only two parts of industry that you get exposure to. You get exposure to sales reps, and you might get exposure to the R&D side if you work in clinical trials. So those were the only two parts of industry I knew. And initially, I didn't consider industry because I didn't want to be stuck in a lab. And I also didn't want to do sales. So I thought there was nothing else there for me. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that actually there is a world of opportunity in industry. It isn't just sales, and it isn't just R&D. There's marketing, there's medical affairs, there's market access, there's regulatory, there's communications, there's digital strategy. There's so many different things that you can do in industry. And I didn't really know that. Nobody had told me that. And the only reason I found that out was from my own research. So then I decided, okay, well, where do my skills align? And I felt that I have absolutely at that point, I had no marketing experience. I had no sales experience. I had no regulatory experience. The closest thing I had was the clinical experience, which I could translate to medical affairs. So I thought I'd start there. But I think I was a little bit naive in my approach. I didn't realize how difficult it would be to get into industry. I didn't realize, I didn't realize the transferable skills and what I actually needed to do a medical affairs job. There were a lot of job specs out there. There were a lot of job titles out there for medical affairs roles, but they weren't really specific enough. They would say experience in a therapy area, and that would be it. And I'd be like, well, I have experience in that therapy area. I've rotated into that therapy area. I've done a good stint. I know that therapy area. But actually, medical affairs is so much more. And I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know enough about what the role was. So when I was applying for these roles, I was faced with a lot of rejection. I was faced with a lot of rejection from recruitment consultants and from direct applications as well. So, my CV just would not get through. I just wouldn't hear back. And if I reached out to recruitment consultants, they would tell me, well, I don't have the experience, so they're not going to put me forward. And that was quite difficult because it was constant. Everything I applied for a good year. It took me over a year to get into industry. So I faced this rejection for good 12 months. But I kept trying, I kept going for it. And in the end, it was my network that helped me get my first role in industry. It was a family member who knew somebody else, who knew somebody else, who then put me in contact with the hiring manager. And because I was able to get in front of the hiring manager, because I was able to sit in front of them and explain to them why I would be the best candidate, that is the only reason I got the role. Because if they'd looked at my CV, they probably would have said, oh, that person doesn't have the experience needed. But I did have the mindset, I did have the attitude, and I did have the focus to want to succeed. And that's what the manager saw. And so they took a chance on me and they hired me. And that was my first role in industry.
Oh, what a good story to get us started on this podcast. I love that. Hey guys, before we get into this week's episode, I really want to remind you about the discount code that I have for thenakedpharmacy.com. As my listeners or viewers of the podcast, you'll receive a 20% discount using the code PD20. Both myself, my husband, and my children are using the products and we're absolutely loving them. I really want to advocate for this brand because number one, it's owned and created by a pharmacist, Kevin Levers. He has over 35 years of experience working in the industry of natural medicines and has created his own company and provided us with so many different products to support our needs. For me personally, I absolutely love their gut health products, the magnesium for my sleep, and Saffrosun Energy. Because as a mum of two very young children, working full time and juggling the day-to-day life that I have, I really need that extra support to keep me energized and going throughout the day. I also wanted to let you know that if you're not sure where to start with your supplement regime, Kevin has a team of multiple pharmacists that you can either contact by phone, email, or on social media to get some support on where to get started. Check out their website, thenakedpharmacy.com. Now let's get back to the episode. And you're right about so many things. Sometimes the hospital pathway, like you said, it's laid out for you. You kind of know where you can go. And once you're in a hospital setting, because you're exposed to so many different professionals within the pharmacy department, like Guy's and St. Thomas's, an organisation I've recently worked for, has around 500 members of staff within the pharmacy team. So it's a huge department, but one where you are constantly communicating with different people from different specialties, different teams, whether it's a clinical specialty, finance, IT, the digital side, management, the leadership journeys. You know what's out there because you're communicating with people who do different types of jobs. And you can see the trajectory of where you can go. And yes, of course, a lot of people who go down either a very clinical pathway, stay clinical specialists for the rest of their career, or they go down the management pathway, which allows them to potentially go up to, deputy chief pharmacist or a chief pharmacist role. And for those who love that idea, amazing. And for a lot of people who start their journey in pharmacy, I feel like you end up following it because that's what you have awareness of. Yeah. And for me, I worked in Oxford as a resident, and because I was exposed to so many people in such clinical specialist areas, and they were my role models, people who had been in gastroenterology for 20 years, or an ITU pharmacist who's been there for 30 years. When you see those specialist roles, you automatically feel like you should kind of continue in that journey, and becoming a really good specialist pharmacist is the way forward. It was only until I left hospital and moved to Dubai and saw another side of pharmacy that I started opening my eyes to what else was available within our career. I think if I hadn't have moved countries, I would definitely be in a hospital specialist pharmacist role this whole time, because I think you kind of get stuck in that pathway, and there's not a lot of people who end up kind of leaving and going into other roles unless they join fellowships, for example, like the Chief Pharmaceutical Fellowship in terms of leadership has been really useful for people to explore working at NICE or working with NHS England or NHS Innovation. There's so many organisations now that are providing these fellowships that gives people an opportunity to see outside which has been amazing. Obviously, education and training comes into it as well. But when you are in that hospital setting and you think, I'm not 100% fulfilled, I think also maybe a decade ago, there wasn't as much information available online. And I still think even now with LinkedIn and having so many additional resources, but we are still struggling when it comes to students accessing information about pharmacy careers and opportunities. Of course, this podcast exists now, which is amazing. And, people are getting really deep insight into people's lives, their journeys, their transformations, the career opportunities, how they're doing it, skills. I mean, it's endless and amazing in terms of what students can gain or young pharmacists can gain. But you're right that naivety wasn't really your fault. I think the lack of information made it really challenging for you to understand what opportunities were available and also the skills that you need. And even when you did the research, I'm sure it was still really hard to find out how to sell those skills because you've come from a very specific hospital role. And then to try and sort of make that a transferable skill into industry is quite challenging. And I'm sure that you've heard many times before that when it comes to pharmaceutical industry, they expect experience. And there's so many people who are struggling to get that experience in order to make their way in, and they give up. There are a lot of students that I speak to, and like you say, hospital and community are the main places. Obviously, GP practice is now a big thing as well.
Yeah.
And those are the three avenues in terms of what our students see. But when you talk to students about industry, there's definitely a lack of information and understanding as to what we can do, what skills you need, how to prepare, how to get that experience. So obviously this series will be really exciting for people because there's going to be lots of information that they'll be able to utilize in their journey if this is, a pathway that they want to go down. But I think it's really amazing how well you persisted an entire year of researching, networking, talking to people, getting all those rejections. Like that must have been really tough for you.
It was. And even that networking piece, right? So I started trying to reach out to people. I started trying to speak to more people who were in industry. And I guess I was naive in that sense of thinking that anyone who worked in industry would be in a position to help me. And that's not true. People work in all different parts of industry. And even if you are networking with, for example, a medical director, they might not actually be in a position to help you get a role with the company that they're in because they might not have a role available. So it's the understanding that as well, that when you're networking with people, there is an effective way to do that. And at the beginning, I was very ineffective at networking, which also didn't help. But I think that's a part of the growth. That's just the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, like totally. You will make mistakes along the way and, do cold calls, but they're cold messages on LinkedIn a lot of the time, or finding email addresses and just sending out information about yourself and attaching that CV and writing an amazing cover letter. But you don't really know who it's going to or if that person's going to receive it, or like you said, whether they're in a position to hire anyone. It is really hard. And I think having this information is really, really useful, which kind of brings me to the point that you've developed a brand. And I really want everybody to hear about it. It's called PharmAfinity. And a lot of your struggles and challenges and obstacles have given you the motivation to build something that helps people along this journey. So why don't we start by talking about that?
Yes. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. PharmAfinity kind of evolved from my own experiences of, struggling to make that transition from clinical to industry. And because of that, I'd been helping a lot of people on LinkedIn. So people would reach out to me. There would be those cold calls or cold messages, and they would respond and I would help them. And it was on a very, very small scale. And I thought to myself, well, actually, I can probably help a lot more people if I can create a platform somewhere where I put all of my knowledge, along with, that we have a faculty as well. So along with other people's knowledge. So it's easily accessible. And PharmAfinity really kind of tries to focus on 3 elements. The first element is providing resources. So providing resources on the different types of roles, the different types of departments, interview technique, CV skills, just lots of different types of resources. It could be podcasts, presentations, articles, they're all on the platform. The second part is around networking. So I've already mentioned that at the beginning of my journey, trying to transition into industry, my networking skill was non-existent, right? I did those cold calls. I thought everybody could help me. I didn't know how to make a strong connection, build a rapport, kind of develop a relationship. It was very much just meeting people and thinking, oh, I'm interested in a job in industry. Would you be able to help me? Which obviously isn't the best way to network. So PharmAfinity is designed to try and help people build on that skill.
But you don't learn this at university. It's not something that we ever really bring up into conversation. So, of course, you build rapport with patients and you know how to communicate with other healthcare professionals in a work setting or a patient, for example. And yes, those skills are completely transferable to networking in order to get a job. But it's the language that you use and the types of questions that you ask and the conversations that you start to build that you don't know exactly how to do, or you don't even know that you're going wrong. I feel like a lot of people might be messaging on LinkedIn and asking specific questions, and they may not get a response, and there's a reason for that. And maybe you've experienced that.
Yes. Yeah, I have. When I was kind of, really early on in my career and wanting to move into industry, absolutely, I would try and connect with people I didn't know. And that's not really that effective because people aren't inclined to connect with you if they don't know you. It's much better if you can get an introduction or if you can get somebody that's already in your network to help you grow your network. But that's something that we do at PharmAfinity. So we hold networking events. We do 4 in-person networking events per year. And we have a lot of different industry leaders coming along. They do a talk, they kind of bring their insights and just give kind of those like nuggets of information that is trying to help people who are wanting to move into industry or help those people who are already in industry develop their careers further. And then after they've given their talk, there's an opportunity to network, talk to these leaders, find out a little bit more about them, start trying to build that rapport. But yeah, those are offered 4 times a year. So we try and get the same leaders in at least to 2 of them. So you have the opportunity over time to build those relationships, because that's important as well. A relationship isn't just built straight away. You can't just meet someone once and then be like, right, they're in my network. I can reach out to them. I can call them. They will help me. It's unlikely that that's going to happen. So that's something that we do at PharmAfinity. And then the third piece is mentoring. So when you do get to that situation where you've decided, okay, I want to make that change. I want to move to industry. I need someone to guide me. I need someone to help me with maybe help update the CV so that's in line with a job description, help with interview preparation, because a lot of people don't know what an interview would be like in industry. They've only ever experienced interviews at maybe university or in hospital or in community. And in industry, it's a little bit different. There's various stages where you have competency-based questions, where you have presentations, where you might have to do a clinical appraisal. So we offer mentoring to try and support people through the whole process.
I love that. You're building a community.
Yes.
One of the most important things for me as a podcaster, and part of my mission is to build a community of people who are wanting to build an amazing pharmacy career, no matter what journey it is that they're going down. So I love that. So you've got loads of resources, lots of information, you've got mentoring, you're helping people to network, and you're supporting their journey in terms of building a community. Tell me a little bit more about the mentoring. Is it sort of a one-to-one situation which people have to pay for, or are some of these services available for free?
So PharmAfinity members, some resources are available for free. You don't have to pay. But if you decide to go for the membership for PharmAfinity, then you have you pay a sort of nominal fee for the networking events, and the mentoring is free. So we have a number of different mentors from various different parts of industry. So we have people who are in regulatory, people who are in compliance, people who are in market access. We have people who are in clinical development, and you can pick your mentor. So you can go on the website, you can have a look at all the different mentors, you can have a look at their experience, and then you can email into PharmAfinity and say, I would like to be assigned a mentor. Could I have X, Y, and Z if they're available? And then PharmAfinity will try and match a mentor to a mentee.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great idea. I mean, there's so much information available. In fact, one of my interns came to your event in December and was really excited, really, happy to have joined an event which she didn't know existed prior to coming to the event, and just felt, this is a community and this is a way for me to gather more information and understand more about the industry before I try to make that transition. So, that's user feedback for you. And I mean, how long have you been doing it for now, actually?
So we launched PharmAfinity in March.
Oh, so it's not even been that long in terms of, so you've done so much in such a short space of time. I love that. And built such a great community. I mean, I've been on your website and I was really impressed with everything that's available. And for sure, this is something that I would share with, the students that I teach. And, we're here recording a podcast to share it with my community. Where can people find you in terms of your website and social media?
The website is www.pharmafinity.co.uk. So PharmAfinity is actually growing. So we've got kind of a landing page now that has career development, forum, and another kind of platform that's coming soon. So people can kind of go to that landing page and go to the section that's most appropriate for them. If they're looking for the career development piece, which is a piece we're kind of talking about now, then obviously they'll click onto that. But we also have a forum. So whilst we're creating a community, we're also creating a digital community. So if people have questions that they want to ask, but they're not in front of an industry expert, they can just post that in the forum and someone will get back to them. So there's also that option as well.
Amazing. And you have a TikTok page?
Yeah.
What's the TikTok page? PharmAfinity?
So actually that's just under my name. So it's just Gina Bariah on TikTok.
Perfect. And you're also obviously on LinkedIn.
Yes. And there's the PharmAfinity page. And also feel free to connect with me too.
Amazing. Before we jump off this episode, which was all about your journey in PharmAfinity, let me just ask one last question about your actual journey within the industry. So what was the first job that you got as an industry pharmacist?
Great question. So I mentioned that kind of the first role I got was through my network. And that was with Pfizer. That was in a medical advisor role. And it was just amazing. It was just so completely different to hospital. It was so, I guess, when I first walked into the Pfizer offices, which were these huge, huge offices, almost as big as a hospital, I was just blown away. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so different. I can wear heels. I can paint my nails. I can wear jewelry. And the whole way I felt just walking into the office and having this new job was just completely different to how I've ever felt before. And then I got to experience so much in that role. With it being my first role in industry, I didn't really know what to expect, but the role blew me away. I mean, I learned an incredible amount. I was working within anti-infectives, so I got to work on 4 different products. I got to understand a lot about medical strategy, commercial strategy, pricing. There was just so much. It was a very steep learning curve, but it was incredibly enjoyable. And then after Pfizer, so once I really kind of got stuck in and understood what medical was all about, what industry was all about, what I wanted to get from my career, I decided to move to another another company. So I moved to MSD, again within medical affairs, but this time as an associate director of medical affairs within immunology. And I, again, got to work on some fantastic products, got to work with some fantastic people, and just developed my knowledge of creating a medical strategy. So as the associate director of medical affairs, I was responsible for the medical strategy of my products. So I got to experience how to create that, how to align that with kind of the commercial team, making sure that actually as a whole group, we're going towards the same goals. It's not that I'm creating a strategy, trying to do something completely different to what the rest of my team are wanting to achieve. So that was really interesting. And then from MSD, I moved to AstraZeneca as a medical lead within respiratory. So I got to work on launches. I got to work, again, cross-functionally with market access, with commercial, with sales. So really, each time I moved within industry, I just allowed myself, I guess, to learn, to learn a little bit more about medical affairs, to learn a little bit more about all the different areas of industry and just try and improve on my skill set whilst gaining new skills. So that's what I've been doing. And during that period, I also developed into a final signatory.
Amazing. What a fabulous career kind of story and journey, and multiple organizations, which really creates like an amazing portfolio for you in terms of the roles that you've had, the skills that you've had, and working with such a huge network now, because you've got all these organizations where you will have made friends and connections, and a really beautiful journey. And I also want to say how inspiring it is that you've done all of that. Let's not forget that you're a mother.
Yes.
Which is part 3, by the way. So, watch this space to talk more about kind of motherhood and juggling that alongside a career, and your entrepreneur journey since the beginning of this year. So, there is so much you should be proud of, so much, to inspire other people with regards to your journey. So, thank you for making the time to come and talk about your story with us.
No, thank you for inviting me.
I love it. So that is the end of part 1 of our 3-part series on the pharmaceutical industry. Gina has really gone all out to share her journey with us and some of the struggles and challenges, as well as some of the success stories along her way. I hope that you guys check out PharmAfinity and look at all the resources, the podcasts, check out the community and the networking events. And let me know your feedback on that. And next week for part 2, we will be going all out on the skills that you need for pharmaceutical industry.